Did your parents value your life? My mother charged rich men $50,000 to hunt me through the woods with weapons. I was 13 the first time she drove me out to the property. She said we were going camping, but I should have known something was wrong when she made me change into torn clothes and took my shoes. You're going to run through those trees until the nice man catches you, she said, pointing at a guy loading a crossbow. If you make it to the road before sundown, we get paid. If you don't run fast enough, we don't get paid. Understand? I thought it was some sick joke until she shoved me toward the tree line and the man started counting down from 10. That first hunt I just ran blind through branches that tore my feet apart while arrows whistled past my head. I hid in a hollow log for 3 hours listening to him stomp around calling me Little Rabbit until the timer went off. Mom collected her cash and told me I did good, but next time I needed to make it more exciting, give them a real chase, make them feel like they earned it. On the drive home, she stopped at McDonald's like we'd just come from soccer practice instead of me almost getting murdered for sport. The hunts became monthly events. Different men with different weapons and different rules. Some got rifles, some got bows, some just got knives in their bare hands. Mom would prep me like a trainer, teaching me to zigzag and double back, to use mud for camouflage, to control my breathing so I wouldn't gasp and give myself away. She bought books on military evasion tactics and made me memorize them. You're worth nothing to me dead, she'd say while drawing escape routes on maps, so don't screw up and die. I tried running away after the 4th hunt, but she'd thought of that. She showed me photos she'd taken of me changing clothes, cropped to look inappropriate. I tell police you're a runaway who's been selling yourself, and guess where you end up? Right back here, but with no more hunts, just straight to the highest bidder. I tried telling a teacher once, but Mom had already told everyone I was a pathological liar with violent fantasies. She'd even gotten me a therapist who documented my delusions about being hunted. No one believed the real story when the cover story was so well crafted. By hunt number 8, I'd gotten good at surviving. I knew which trees were easiest to climb, where the ground was soft enough to not leave tracks, how to use creek water to mask my scent. I'd broken a man's ankle by leading him into a bear trap I'd found and reset. Another one I'd gotten to shoot himself in the foot by circling back on my own trail. Mom started charging extra for the experienced prey and marketing me as a real challenge. She bought night vision cameras so they could do overnight hunts. Hunt number 10 nearly killed me. The client was trained military and caught me in the first hour. The only reason I survived was because I played dead after he choked me unconscious. Hunt 11 was an old banker with a heart condition. It should have been easy, but he'd brought his own rules. He didn't want to catch me. He wanted to wound me and watch me try to crawl to safety. I still have the scar where his arrow went through my calf. After that hunt, I told Mom I was done and she could end me herself if she wanted. She laughed and showed me the booking she'd already taken. Next month is special, baby. A group hunt, 5 men, various weapons, last girl standing. She'd found another girl to hunt alongside me. Either you both make it out or neither of you does. They're paying for blood this time. She showed me the other girl's photo. She looked maybe 11, definitely trafficked. Mom had partnered with worse people and business was expanding. I started planning immediately. During supply runs, I stole things. Rope, fishing line, box cutter blades. I studied the property for new hiding spots and tested which plants made the best poison when crushed and rubbed on sharp edges. I wasn't going to just run anymore. The morning of Hunt 13, Mom drove me out early to walk the course. Instead, I set traps. I strung fishing line at neck height between trees and sharpened branches into punji sticks. Mom was too busy counting money on her phone to notice what I was really doing. The other girl arrived at sunset, shaking and crying while her handler negotiated with Mom. I tried to catch her eye, but she was too terrified to look at anyone. Mom made us both strip and change into matching white dresses for visibility, then lined us up for the hunter's inspection. 5 men with 5 different weapons, passing a bottle of whiskey and making bets on who'd bag which girl first. The one with the compound bow kept licking his lips while staring at the younger girl. I memorized each face and weapon. As Mom reached the final numbers of her countdown, I grabbed the other girl's hand and whispered, "Follow me if you want to live." Then the horn sounded and we ran into the darkness. Behind us came the sound of weapons loading and men whooping like they were on safari. Ahead was 3 square miles of woods I knew better than anyone. For the first time in 13 hunts, I wasn't the prey anymore. I was the fucking welcoming committee. The horn blast was still echoing when I squeezed Arabella's hand 3 times. She jerked like I'd shocked her but followed when I pulled left toward the creek. Her palm was so sweaty it kept slipping from mine. Behind us, boots crashed through leaves and someone chambered around. I yanked her behind a thick oak and we pressed against the bark. My heart was going so fast I thought they'd hear it. 20 yards ahead was my first trap and we had to reach it before they spread out. I counted to 3 in my head, then pulled Arabella into a sprint. She stumbled on a root, but I hauled her up without stopping. The fishing line I'd strung between 2 trees was invisible in the dark. I dropped to my knees and pulled Arabella down hard just as footsteps pounded behind us. The hunter hit the line at full speed and it caught him right across the throat. He went down gagging and cursing while his rifle clattered away into the leaves. We scrambled on hands and knees toward the creek bank while he rolled around behind us choking. The mud at the creek edge was cold and thick. I scooped it with both hands and started smearing it all over Arabella's white dress. She was shaking so bad her teeth were clicking together. The mud covered the bright fabric and I rubbed more on her arms and face. Her palms were already bleeding from when I'd pulled her down. I ripped strips from my dress hem and wrapped them quick as I could. 3 rules, I whispered right in her ear. Stay low, breathe through your nose, follow exactly where I step. She nodded, but I could tell she was too scared to really understand. Through the trees came a voice I recognized from watching the hunters earlier. Trevor was calling out grid coordinates to the others, calm and professional like this was a normal job. He had the compound bow and actually knew how to hunt, not like these drunk idiots who just wanted to shoot at kids. His voice was getting closer from the east. We crawled along the creek bank, staying low in the mud. My hands found the metal post of the first camera and I stood up just enough to reach it. The mount was already loose from my morning prep work. I tilted the whole thing toward the sky, then smeared mud thick across the lens. This would give us a blind spot toward the the hollow log where I'd hidden supplies. We'd have to circle back for it, but at least the cameras couldn't track us there. Arabella grabbed my arm and pointed behind us. Flashlight beams were sweeping through the trees maybe 50 yards back. We had to move faster. I pulled her into the shallow part of the creek and we waded upstream. The water was so cold it felt like knives in my feet. After about 100 yards, I found the fallen oak with the X I'd scratched into the bark. The hollow stump was right behind it, covered in dead leaves. Inside was everything I'd stolen over the past weeks. 3 box cutter blades taped to wooden handles, rope, gauze from Mom's first aid kit, and matches wrapped in plastic. I pressed one of the makeshift knives into Arabella's hand. "Hold it like this," I showed her, keeping the blade pointed out and down. "Only if someone grabs you." She was crying now, but trying to stay quiet about it. Snot was running down her face, mixing with the mud. A scream ripped through the woods from the south. Not a battle cry, but real pain. Someone had found my punji pit. The sharpened branches weren't deep enough to kill, but they'd go right through a boot into the foot and calf. The screaming kept going, and I heard other voices rushing toward it. "What the fuck?" someone yelled. "The little bitch set traps." Now they knew I wasn't just running. Mom's voice carried through the trees, that same business tone she used for everything. She was on her phone talking about timing and bonuses if they finished within the hour. "Yes, both packages are in play," she said. "Premium rates apply for completion before midnight." My stomach burned with rage so hot I almost threw up. She was negotiating our deaths like a pizza delivery. I wanted to scream at her, but Arabella needed me to stay smart. The creek curved ahead and I remembered every rock from my practice runs. "Step exactly where I step," I told Arabella. The first rock was stable, but the second would shift if you hit it wrong. Third rock, skip the fourth, land on the fifth with your left foot. Arabella followed perfectly even though she was shaking. The water covered the sound of our breathing and washed away our scent. Upstream about 200 yards was the maintenance shed. We could make it if we stayed in the water. Behind us came more shouting and I heard Trevor's voice cutting through it all. "Shut up and listen," he said. "They're smart enough to use the water." How did the mom even find people who would pay to hunt kids? The way she trained her own child like some kind of survival expert while selling these hunts is so twisted. I wonder if she learned these tactics somewhere or just figured them out herself to make more money. "You two follow the north bank, we'll take south." His voice was so calm it scared me more than the screaming. At the fork where the creek split, I stopped. The left path was faster and I knew every hiding spot. The right path was longer but had more cover. Arabella's hand in mine was so small and cold. She was trusting me completely even though she didn't know me at all. The choice was easy. We stayed together no matter what because I wasn't letting go of her hand. We took the right fork, moving slow and careful through the freezing water. The cold made Arabella stumble on a sharp rock and slice her knee open pretty bad. Blood mixed with creek water as I pulled her behind a big boulder where the bank curved. I grabbed the gauze from my pocket and wrapped it tight around the cut while teaching her our signals real quick. 1 squeeze meant stop, 2 meant danger, 3 meant run like hell. She squeezed back twice to show she got it. The wound wasn't deep, but it was bleeding enough to leave a trail if we weren't careful. I cupped my hands and made that same whistling sound Mom taught me for making hunts more exciting. The sound echoed off the rocks and trees to the west of where we actually were. 2 of the hunters started yelling at each other about which direction it came from. Their voices bounced around, making it hard to tell exactly where they were, but I knew they'd waste time checking the wrong area. We kept moving upstream until something caught my eye stuck in a tree trunk at head height. An arrow, still vibrating slightly from impact. Trevor's work for sure. Barely missed us by inches when we'd passed earlier. I worked it free, careful not to snap the shaft, because an arrow is a weapon, and weapons make things more fair. The carbon fiber arrow was expensive, balanced, with a razor-sharp broadhead tip. Now it was mine. Through the trees I could hear that low hum from the generator I'd memorized during our morning walk. It powered all the cameras and lights Mom had installed over the years. The sound helped me figure out exactly where we were in the dark, and which way to go to reach the power hub. If I could cut the main cable, we'd have way more blind spots to move through without being tracked. We climbed out of the creek, and I led Arabella through thick brush toward the electrical box. My hands were numb from cold, but I managed to get the box cutter blade out and started sawing at the thick cable feeding the eastern camera bank. The rubber coating was tough, and my frozen fingers kept slipping, but finally the blade bit through copper. Sparks flew, and 5 camera lights blinked out at once, creating the dark corridor we needed to reach the northern fence. The hunters were shouting to each other now without even trying to be quiet. They hadn't expected any resistance, and their communication was getting sloppy from frustration and maybe too much whiskey. I counted 4 distinct voices, which meant one was staying quiet or circling wide to cut us off. That worried me more than the loud ones. Behind a fallen oak tree, I spotted one of the trail cameras Mom had mounted low to catch footage of us crawling or hiding. The SD card was still inside, and I pocketed it quick along with 2 others I found nearby. Evidence for later if we survived this. Arabella tugged my sleeve and whispered her first words to me since we started running. "My sister," she said so quiet I almost missed it. "He'll hurt my little sister if I don't make him money." The weight of protecting more than just us hit me like ice water in my chest. Her handler had leverage just like Mom did with me. We weren't just running for our lives, but for kids we'd never even met. I squeezed her hand 3 times, but this time it meant something different. It meant I understood. The tall pine tree I'd taught myself to climb during hunt number 6 was just ahead. Its branches started low and grew close together, perfect for going up fast even in the dark. I boosted Arabella up first, then followed, the rough bark scraping my palms raw. From 20 feet up, I could see flashlight beams cutting through the trees. 3 hunters were clustered near the main trail, arguing about something while a 4th light moved in a wider pattern. Trevor was trying to herd us toward the others like we were deer, but I knew these woods better than anyone, and his plan had a big hole in it. I pulled out the burner phone I'd found in Mom's car weeks ago during a supply run. She'd hidden it under the driver's seat, probably for emergencies or side deals. The battery icon was red, almost dead, but I managed to type out a text to 911 with our coordinates. The screen went black right after I hit send, but maybe someone would see it in time. We climbed down careful and quiet, Arabella following my exact hand and foot placement. The hunters were getting close.